Bill and Jeff. I'm Bill.
I'm Jeff.
I like to eat.
And I love to cook.
So we're going to have some fun together.
Let's do it.
We're all about food, family, and fun. So we're going to share some things that you might want to prepare for your holiday season. So what are we going to do today?
So this particular dish is a really fun little appetizer. It's Palmiers, which is a French name, obviously. And the foundation of this is puff pastry, which is really a cool thing. Luckily, being a chef, I'm not a pastry chef, so it's not my job in most cases to build a puff pastry. It's very complicated, and it's a laminated dough.
A laminated, what's laminated dough?
Okay, so it's layered. Laminated just means that they've rolled the dough out, they layer butter on it, they fold it up, and then they roll it out again, and they put butter on it, and then they fold it up, and they roll it out multiple times until they get many layers of butter.
Okay, and you can buy this in the store,
Right.
like this.
Yeah, so this is usually in the frozen section in your
Okay.
dessert area or in breads. And it's quite inexpensive, so it's easy to get, and there's a lot of really cool dishes you can do with
Okay, well, let's get to it. I thought we were going to cook, and you told me I'm going to cook.
You're going to do the cooking.
Okay,
today.
great.
Yeah, so
Exciting.
big thing about the puff pastry is you want to keep it cold because of all the butter,
Yep, it
but you
feels
don't want
cold.
it to be frozen. It usually comes folded up like that, so now we need to gently unfold that.
So we've left this out at room temperature so that it can warm a bit.
Right.
And so we need to unfold it carefully.
Unfold it carefully.
Okay,
You're
so
going
we
to
don't,
notice that there'll be some seams.
we don't want it to break.
No.
How long do you leave it out
Well,
before you start unfolding it?
it's really about how it feels.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to leave it out too long because the butter will start to melt, and that will cause the puff pastry not to puff as much when you bake it. So periodically, if it's been out a little too long, you can stop and put it back in the refrigerator and let it kind of solidify a bit again. And then, of course, you can see here the seams. So you just take your fingers, because this is, and then push that together.
And so what do you call that when you're
pressing it.
There's not a fancy term.
It's called pressing together with your fingers.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Press it with the fingers to keep it a little warm.
yeah.
All right.
You can kind of push the seams together, right, like this, so that they kind of reseal. Because as we start to fold this back up, the outside part of it, we're gonna have to do that again, because it'll be separating a bit on the outside as well.
Okay. What's next?
So with the Palmiers, we're going to put a base of something on top of the puff pastry. In this case, we're going to use tomato paste. But this could be Boursin cheese. It could be any number of sauce type items that you want to. Let's say you want to do a pizza-based Palmiers. You could use pizza sauce and then pepperoni and mozzarella. Today we're going to use tomato paste, prosciutto, and a grated Parmesan cheese.
Spread it out.
And you make sure you kind of a nice thin layer of the tomato paste, and you want to get it all the way out toward the edges. Because typically with a dish like this where you're going to roll it up, the edges are always hard to get enough food out to the edge.
Right. Oftentimes when you eat something, it's just all bread and no filling. Right. And you just want to get to the middle as fast as possible. So we'll take care of that.
Yeah. So you get a nice even spread of the tomato paste. Again, this layer can be a lot of different things. So what I like to tell people about a recipe like this is don't just blindly follow it. You can try different things.
You might want to follow in the beginning just to get your confidence
that way you know.
And then for a beginner like me,
you might say, hey, I need more tomato paste, or I need more cheese, or I need
do what you like.
Yep.
Don't be constrained by
That's
the
a good
recipe.
recommendation. Follow the recipe the first time, and then you make adjustments from there.
Great. All right, is this going to be enough?
I think if we get all that
Spread it
on
out
there,
nice and
spread it
thin.
out,
All right.
should do a nice job for us. Now, a lot of times too, what a layer like this does for a dish like this is it actually protects the puff pastry from getting too wet. So
What happens when it gets wet?
it gets soggy.
So if you used like a pizza sauce, are those a little bit runnier than
They
the
are.
tomato
They tend
paste?
to be.
So
That's
that
why
would be harder.
Yeah, I like
perhaps?
that consistency of the tomato paste is really kind of perfect for a dish like this.
Okay.
And who is this person talking to us from the camera?
Hey Jen, our camera person,
God.
Jen, my lovely wife. Thank you for helping us today.
Voice
So it's
without
a team
face.
effort. Okay.
I think
next?
your face probably would be better than our face.
Probably
Maybe I
so.
ought to talk from there and you
So-
Oh, I don't know about that. I think we like you right where you are.
What's next?
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a layer of the prosciutto
Okay.
So there's 6 pieces of prosciutto here.
Palmiers is French.
Palmiers is French. Prosciutto is Italian.
Is it okay to mix the Italian and the French?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
They are. Yeah, they're both European, so I think we're okay.
All right.
Of course, prosciutto. You know, you can
Love
get
prosciutto.
a lot of different types of. You know, prosciutto de Parma is the most common. Prosciutto.
Just lay it on there.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're covering the puff pastry, top to bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, prosciutto is very thin, right? So
Yep. Can be a little.
a little delicate to work with. Sometimes using the paper itself as a separator.
Yep.
Yep. That makes it nice.
All right.
So you're going to put 3 across the top, and then we'll put 3 across the bottom, and it kind of layers that and covers the whole piece of puff pastry nicely with the prosciutto. And of course, prosciutto is delicate, a little bit salty.
Really good.
Yeah, it's really nice. You could use.
Love prosciutto in the morning when you go to European breakfast buffets.
Yeah, they usually have
on a hard roll.
the lunch meats with the rolls. And
Really
things.
good.
Yeah. And you could use serrano ham, which is Spanish. So there's again any number of different meat products you could use. Yeah.
You got to remember his recommendation of using the paper in between to separate.
It does help.
Because if it doesn't,
Well,
it
this
looks
is
like
a great example, right?
it looks like it's
It absolutely does.
completely
sound
falling
right.
apart.
Yeah,
That's
so there you
okay.
go.
I think it'll still taste good.
They
Well, where I
they
came
put
from,
that paper in there for a good reason. So
Where I come from, they tell you it all goes in the
here,
same
just
place.
watch this. Watch how close this is. Just use the paper.
Just use the
full.
paper.
Yep.
That's what you meant when you said use the paper.
That's what we mean.
All right.
You are trainable.
Well, never give up. Like this across the bottom.
You can lay it that way, or you can lay it lengthwise as
Yeah.
well, just like the other
Okay.
pieces. Just make sure you get.
I think when people say you can do it that way, that typically means you're doing it wrong. So, that's so.
Bill,
Bill.
you are doing it wrong.
Not doing it the way it's done. Anyway,
You're
we're
doing
getting
it the
there.
hard way.
We're getting it there.
That's right. The most important thing is get it covered, right? You see how delicate that is? It's like
It really is. It's fragile.
thin.
So you got to be gentle with your prosciutto.
But think, every time I build a dish like this, you have to build it from the person eating its perspective, right? I want them to have a bite of prosciutto in every piece. I want them to be able to taste all the flavors. So you look at how you've got it layered.
Yep.
Do you have some gaps? You want to try to kind of push the prosciutto
A little
around.
bit there.
Get it
Over
covered
here.
nicely. Yeah, there you go.
Here. Okay. There we go. All right.
Now the top, the next layer is going to be grated Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
You've got your cheese grater and a nice chunk of Parmesan there.
Great. Parmesan. So
Parmesan's a hard cheese relative to, say, cheddar, which is semi-hard, or soft cheese, which would be something like a brie.
So you can use a brie as well.
You could, absolutely.
Or
It's going
use
to
whatever
be,
you like.
You can,
All right.
yeah. You could use any number of cheeses on this. Probably going to take almost that whole block, or at least what's left of the block.
All right. Well, I love cheese.
Oh, I do too. I'm a big fan of Parmesan. I like it because it's salty. And as I typically do, I will clean as we go. Clean as I
All
go.
right.
Hey,
That's good.
if you can teach that to Bill, I would be very, very grateful.
I
I
like to
love it
cook.
when he cooks,
I like to cook, but
but
kinda-
it's an absolute mess after. And all the kids and I, if we're doing dishes, we're like, oh, Dad's cooking. I love it,
Right.
but I don't love it.
I'd say as a chef, I use a lot of equipment myself, but I clean a lot of it as I'm going. I reuse pots and pans multiple
Right.
times in a cooking session, but still at the end, there's still a lot of pots
Well,
and pans.
people like to eat my cooking. They don't like to clean up after the meal. So,
But it's funny, at the Culinary Institute of America, where I went to school, when I did my professional chef exam, you would start the day with 100 points, and you had all day to lose them. And a big part of that was your cleanliness and your organization as you
Organization,
cook.
right, right.
we're not going to do that.
So-
in my kitchen when I cook.
Oh,
And-
but we can, Bill. That's the vision,
It's
right?
the discipline, right? behind you're probably good, I think. Let's check and
Okay.
see how much cheese you have there.
All right.
You want to make sure you get a really nice layer of the cheese. That cheese is, and then you again, just like with the prosciutto, make sure you cover that and get a good layer, good nice thick layer of cheese across the whole top of that. The hardest part about doing this is not taking little bits and pasting it.
Well, I'm tempted. Maybe when you're not on camera, you
Well,
can do
our
a little
dog,
more.
you can't see her. She's actually hoping for that to happen. She's right at their feet.
Right. That's typically when the animals come around. Is when
They're like little four things. All right, yeah, so spread that around. And
on all the edges.
yep.
Okay.
Now we'll start at the bottom
Okay.
of the puff pastry, so here closest to you, and just get your fingers up under it, and you want to start getting it to where you can roll. And you don't want to roll this too tight.
Okay.
You want it to roll, but you don't want it to be crushed together tight.
How's that?
Because the puff pastry is going to expand quite a bit as it bakes.
Correct.
Yep. So there you go. Just keep rolling
rolling.
that up.
All right.
And then you're going to come up and you're going to find the seam, the first seam. So you
It's
may have
sticking
to
to the-
watch.
sticking to
See,
the-
that means it's getting a little bit warm.
Sticking to the cutting board a little bit. So do I
If
need to?
if it sticks to the board, that's an indication that it's starting to get a bit warm.
I think right here. It might
Take your knife.
Yep.
Just use your knife and kind of work it under.
I want it to tear.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
And then as that seam comes up, you can stop a second. It's actually really good. That's not bad. You see how
Thanks, Jeff.
it's pieced together there?
All right.
Super.
Confidence builder. All right. So it's
Yep.
working.
And then keep rolling, and there's your other seam. And then
Right.
you want that the bottom of this piece to be on the very bottom
Okay.
as you get ready to cut.
All right.
Okay, so
There
now
we
that you
go.
have this, what we're gonna do is cut this in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. You wanna get 12 pieces out of it if you can.
All right. We've got
And-
this knife. Is this okay?
Yeah, you wanna use a serrated knife.
All right.
And
This is
use
what
it-
I use for tomatoes.
Right, anything that has a skin or anything that you don't want to crush.
Okay.
That's what you use a serrated knife for.
Great,
Because it
nice.
cuts through the skin and then lets you,
How thick? About this.
that's a little thick right there.
Okay.
They're
So-
going to puff as you bake them, right?
Yeah.
So it'll look
What happens
even
is
much bigger than that.
The butter melts
Mhm.
and it
Okay.
pushes the pastry out.
Here's the first piece.
It actually is frying the pastry from the inside out.
Ooh.
If you
Here's
think
the
about
first
it, right?
piece.
Mhm.
First piece, yep, you just kind of layer them across your,
All
and
right.
again, big thing with putting them on this platter is don't get them too close because they will expand quite a bit in the
All
oven.
right.
Be
As
like
it
when I
goes
make
together.
cookies and they run together and I
Right.
have to cut them on the
Right,
edges
you don't wanna do
sometimes.
that.
Right, yeah, no.
All right.
I don't think that would work too well. Is that far enough apart?
I think so. I usually kind of, when I visually look at my cookie sheet or my baking sheet, I look at it in thirds, right? So I have 3 lanes here. And what I
Right.
want to do is I want to make sure that I'm spreading them evenly inside those 3 lanes. Perfect. And again, you see how the serrated knife keeps you from
It sure is
crushing
a
it,
lot easier.
right?
Yep.
So,
A lot easier to work with. I like this cutting board. It's
So
broad.
would this work, this kind of a knife, if like you're making cinnamon rolls perhaps?
yes.
So this would work better?
Right.
I've used actually a thread to cut it.
Yeah, so if you're doing like a
As
homemade
well.
cinnamon roll,
Right, right.
serrated knife is the perfect knife to use to cut the roll down. Yeah.
Great.
And people call them, see, this is the problem, is people call them like a bread knife. So what do you think they use it for?
Bread.
Right? They won't use it for anything else. They don't realize that it's actually anything that has a skin. Sausage,
Oh, okay.
tomatoes,
Yeah, because we have a
Right.
bread knife and the only thing I use it for is bread.
right? But it's anything that has skin, like the doughs or
I
whatever.
see.
You don't want to crush it.
That's a great piece of information.
Yep.
All right. So here we go. Okay.
Okay, so now, another thing, these, the recipe I think for this says to put this in at 400 degrees
Okay.
for 10 minutes.
All right.
Probably not long enough in many cases.
Okay.
So you want to make sure you cook with your eyes. Don't, if at 10 minutes they don't look right or don't look like they're done, let them keep cooking.
When
Okay,
you
so we can
say
put it in-
look
we
right,
can-
what are you wanting this to look like?
Okay, we'll show you. We've got some finished product and we'll show you
So let's
what.
put it in the oven.
Yep, get it in the oven.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, so we actually have some that are
Already made.
pretty finished. Yep, if you want to go ahead and grab the tray. Now, color-wise, these are pretty good. You can go darker, let them go longer and go a bit darker. But you definitely see how they've puffed, how they've spread, and you see
Right.
the, you
Yeah,
see
they're
the
almost
layers.
touching, yes.
Right? You see all the layers.
Looks delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really nice to the eyes. I mean, can you imagine having some friends over and serving this, just
yeah, you put them on a
great.
nice platter,
Right.
and you maybe even put a little more cheese.
And
on
it's
the
so
top.
simple.
Yeah.
Right? It looks really
Right.
intricate and
You could even
advanced, but
put
it's very simple. Oh,
some
you can
fresh
add
herb
some
or something on top of that would complement the flavor.
So as I told you in the beginning, I really like to eat. So are we going to be able to try this?
I think we have to.
Okay.
That's
I
part of the
think so.
chef's job, right?
All
Is
right.
to try.
Let's try it.
So let's get it on.
We need to put this parchment paper down on a sheet.
Right. It makes it easy, right? So there you go.
Mm,
Not too bad.
excellent. Mhm. Really good.
Mm.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you for joining, and hope this was useful. Hope you get to try this. Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to share with us your experiences, any questions, and if there's anything you'd like to learn more about, go ahead and post. Let us know how it's going. Thanks for joining us in the kitchen with Bill and Jeff. Till next time.